Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and this is February 11th, YC128, and we got our Eve Evolved patch. Is it the best? Is it the worst? I barely even know. Let's find out together. This is the Eve Universe Show. Welcome, 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 guys. Okay, so we did get our Eve Evolved patch today. I was not expecting that. I was expecting to maybe get some information about what's going to come out in the Eve Evolved patch before it came out. But, you know, surprises abound. Surprise! We get a UI patch. Why would you... Okay. I often defend, before we get even further into this, I defend the fact that CCP doesn't always telling it, really? I don't, okay. If you're watching this after the fact, I do want to point out that all of this is just kind of happening right now, and so we're just trying to figure out what's going on. A lot of today is not going to necessarily be relevant to long-term from here, because hopefully several of these bugs are going to get fixed, but in the meantime, this has been a pretty exciting day to try to get my head around what the hell's even happening. So, okay. When we last left our intrepid heroes, last week we were watching the conversation with like all of the CCP like main dogs, right? Like CCP Rattati, CCP Burger, and CCP Okami. And they're talking about how next month is going to be the major update. And then this month was going to be the Eve Evolved update. Now, Eve Evolved is generally their focus is on things like infrastructure, UI, you know, not mechanics or, you know, features or balance stuff, but more the stuff that keeps Eve as a game up to date and, you know, modern, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what Eve Evolved is as a project. And so they were saying, like, they were talking more about their various their update cadences and how they kind of think about their updates. And part of it, they said they are doing the Eve Evolved this month. They try to do the Eve Evolved off rhythm with the major updates, because the idea is that they can roll out the Eve Evolved stuff, make sure that that's all working right before they put out the gameplay impactful stuff. So they're not trying to like change, you know, make some major infrastructure or engine changes at the same time as they're trying to make balance changes. And that makes sense. But boy, did that idea of like, we want to come out with the Eve Evolved early so that way if there's any problems we can work it out before the major update. Did that become prescient, because today has been kind of a mess. And the problem is that what they're doing right now with Eve Evolved is fundamental to the UI. And so I can't even necessarily say that more or less bugs or problems came from this patch than any other patch, like just by the quantity of them. But because of the fact that the UI is so important, it's how we interact with the game in all ways, then a problem with the UI ends up being huge problems throughout the whole system. And so right now, today is a very sketchy day to really play with the game very much. But we will be going into what actually happened, what they're changing, and then also some of the problems that people have been running into as well. But man, okay, so I was actually trying to think about what the Eve Evolved could be, and I guess it has been, and this is the other thing that's crazy about this. It's like I didn't even expect this today. I expected it next week. So this could have been like this. In fact, when I saw this dev blog, I didn't think it was live right now. I thought that this was like what was coming, and that makes sense. So this came out with zero like client us facing stuff. Now, but the thing is that like the stuff that came today is all stuff that we had actually heard about. A lot of it was talked about, I think, last FanFest at Legion when they're talking about things that they've been updating. And there has been some little pieces of this Neocom update that has come already. But like, so we already knew that this was coming. So if I had actually sat down and thought about it, we probably could have predicted a little bit of what this is. But the point is that like, I don't know, man. I feel like this is the kind of thing that they could have tested a little bit before putting on a Tranquility. What's really interesting about that, and I was just looking this up. What's fun about this is let me look this up real quick, because what's weird about all of this is that there also was a there was a mass test going on. Where is it? Information portal. Is it announcements? Mass test. Yeah. So there was a mass test that was going on that was supposed to start on the 6th and go through to the 17th. No, sorry. Go through to the 16th. And this was kind of interesting because it was the first time that they had really put up Singularity. Well, not the first time, but, you know, they were putting up Singularity for a long period of time, you know, more than just the mass test and that weekend or whatever. And it also wasn't a mass test that was designed around like everybody getting in fleet, warping to the gate, jumping through the gate, attacking the structure, you know, like the normal structure of mass tests. They were literally just testing infrastructure. Right. Unlike more traditional mass tests, we are looking for concentrated mass of pilots at any given time. We're testing some optimizations to the network layer, and the teams are looking to collect performance and stability data. However, they took the server down after 2 hours because of some issues, right? Where is it? It says, upon Singularity being up for the first 2 hours, we found some serious issues that would require some additional work. We'll be bringing Singularity down momentarily, and we'll be retesting it next week, again with the intent of keeping it up until February 16th. So, like, first of all, cool that they're doing this. Like, I was kind of excited about this. Second of all, interesting that they're doing this because, you know, they're trying to test their network layer. This smells to me, all of this smells to me like trying to work out things about like connection to Vanguard, connection to their data management tools, like you know how they want to update the map so that way it shows like different kinds of data, and you know they have these hooks that pays attention to data as it's being kind of done and collected, or you know as things are happening, as events are occurring, to hook into those. So, like, I expect that a lot of this has to do with making their system more robust and changes that they're doing for whatever's coming in the next expansion, probably. But, like, you would think that also, if you're going to make, like, EVE Evolved, it would have been a great time to test the EVE Evolved stuff. They didn't. In fact, there wasn't even a sign of it during those 2 hours there. And we got it today with no testing, which, like, all this together makes me feel like there's a certain amount of it where they understand that because there's no other serious changes happening right now, it's okay to deploy it to Tranquility because it's kind of okay to mess things up for a day or two as long as they fix it in time. And, like, I come from the free-to-play world. At the very least, I should get some, like, currency or skill or whatever. No, I'm just kidding. But all right, let's actually look at what it is that we're supposed to have gotten today. So, or what we did get today, I should say, because the feature is as described, more or less. So, colorful capsuleers. The ongoing commitment to EVE Forever continues as 3 new EVE Evolved installments will be released over the next few weeks. Okay, so they actually are doing this isn't the only EVE Evolved. So for the next 3 weeks, hopefully by the end of the 3 weeks, they fix it. Today we introduce a number of updates that we make to make EVE more personal, readable, and approachable. This includes improvements to the way you navigate the Neocom, including custom icon colors and search function. So, okay, I feel like my audience has a relatively is a relatively newer population as far as EVE Online goes, right? And so I do need to explain to you guys that once upon a time, EVE Online had a different set of icons on the Neocom. For those of you who do not know, the Neocom is that thing on the side where all of your windows are kept. It's basically your start menu and navigation bar for EVE. They call it the Neocom. Once upon a time, those icons were fully colored. And they were awesome. Yeah. So in one of the most historically controversial moments in the history of EVE Online, you remember back in like the mid 2010s when like every company decided to start redoing their UI in a very minimalistic, flat, monocolor kind of way? Well, for readability's sake, well, EVE did the same thing. And so we got the icons that we have today, and they're all this flat gray color. And in the way of like completely misunderstanding the point of things, now here we are 10, 15 years later, and they have restored the color to the Neocom by allowing us to individually color customize whatever color we want with each individual icon, which I feel isn't exactly what people were talking about when they talked about the old Neocom icons. I personally, honestly, like, here's my hot take of the day. I thought that the new Neocom icons are better because they are more readable. Like, hold on. Just so people can see it. Here are the just gonna wait. Oh no, never mind. This is just showing the old icons. I thought this was showing the old icons next to the new icons. Give me a second. New. Maybe I should look up new Neocom. Ah, here we go. Wait. Okay, so this is in the same post, isn't it? Boo. I'm not going to have... I love how they say Grimdark, and my post was about how Grimdark is no longer... Grimdark is dead. Where is it? Dang it. All right, well... Hold on. Maybe if I look up new icons. Nope, that's not everybody talking about today. Oh well. Where is... Whatever. That's enough of that. You can see that these were more colorful, but there were a few of these that, like, they are more colorful, but they're not more identifiable, right? Like, for a long time, like, in my head, I didn't actually know what most of these icons even were supposed to be. Like, this one right here, the fitting one, is by far the most confusing one, right? Like, so either way, these were prettier, but they were also a lot of times just noise. So now we have the new icons that we now have, and we've had them for a while now, but like this idea of bring back the colored Neocom icons has been there with like things like Jukebox and Browser and Walking in Stations. Have they fixed the hangar container issue yet? Yes, this update is live. I don't know what they fixed and what they haven't fixed yet. We're going to talk about that in a bit. It's actually really hard to track what the problems are right now, because like, so the problem is that I can go to my patch notes here and I can go to known issues, and this is the known issues for Catalyst expansion altogether. And so the issue is that I don't think that they've actually added the new known issues from this update. And this is one of my biggest concerns, or one of my biggest complaints, is that like they're clearly using this thread still in order to communicate what issues there are, but they haven't updated the main thread yet. Post it. Where at in Discord? Okay, I got it. Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so here are the old icons versus the new icons, right? What issues are there? Again, it's hard to nail down all of the issues that exist because they aren't listing them. However, some of the issues are actual technical issue problems, while others are minor nitpicks that you would get when you do new UI. I'm trying to like get through all of this without jumping around too much, so let's at least try to lock in what's going on, and then we'll go into the issue, or what changed, and then we'll go into the issues. So now Neocom, you can change the colors of your Neocom icons, and you can search for any Neocom function using the new search bar. I actually really like the idea of a new search bar. However, I mean, like, you could have used the normal search New Eden, but also that was a very heavy search function. I mean, I guess it makes sense. And they also put a hotkey onto that. So you can now change... announced at last year's FanFest, the ability to assign colors to the Neocom icons is now here. Thanks to your patience while we gave this the time to cook properly. Funny. The days of tragic misclicks are officially numbered. You can now turn your Neocom into a set of visual landmarks, red for fitting, green for wallet, or whatever your chaotic system your brain swears makes sense. All you need to do is right-click any Neocom icon and choose one of the 12 colors available. Remember, there are no mistakes, just happy accidents. So if we close this real quick, we can come in game and we can see that I have all my Neocom icons. They are still gray. Let me, can I don't have my Neocom locked, do I? Hold on. Unlock Neocom. Haha, I do have my Neocom locked. I didn't know you could do that. All right, I did know you could do that, but what? Why not 16 million? That's an interesting question. I honestly believe, Havoc, it is... So, if you think about it, the UI has to store the information. And so, 16 is... What, 4 bits? 3 bits? 3 bits? 3 or 4 bits. Whereas 16 million is like 16 bit, or like 8 or... I don't know how many bits. Either way, whatever. I'm trying to think about it, but like if you're literally trying to like store information in a page, correct. The Photon UI already itself has hex code colors, but if you think about it, now they're having to store a hex code per item. I don't know. Look, I'm not going to try to justify it because I'm now going to complain about it. Where if you right click on an item, you can go to icon color, and here are your 16 colors, right? So you've got like your these are I'm pretty sure these are just like the web safe color palette, so you can do everything from red to blue. Ooh, neat. Now you can also, of course, change the background color and stuff like that. That is a piece to all of this that they talked about, which is that in your user interface you have different themes. I have my theme automatically match which my active ship is, but by default, it used to be something else, and now it is Photon. And so Photon apparently looks like this, and is apparently supposed to be cleaner. Sure, whatever. So you can choose each color individually. Why did I choose the exact same color for 2 of them? That's fun. And then if you go into your thing here, yeah, they're colored here too. So, I mean, sure. I mean, it's fine. It's good. It's not bad for it to be added. But there is that feature. And then you can also search, and you can go, all right, hold on. So if I open up the Neocom, I now have this search for function at the very top. So I could just go like pointer tool, and it'll pull up the pointer window, which is what I would normally use for this, right? If you pull up the pointer window, then there's a filter there, and you could search here for the exact same thing, which is interesting because, like, this only covers things on the Neocom. This is going to cover things even in nested windows, right? So, like, if I go apply skill points, it won't show it, but if I do it through the pointer tool, it will absolutely lead me all the way. So the pointer tool, in my opinion, is still superior. But this is certainly going to be faster and hopefully is an easier thing to teach players to get. But the issue with like Neocom search obviously is that like you have to know what the thing is called. Wish that they would add the ability to change cursor color because I keep losing track of it in regions I run. Yeah, I mean, yes, that would actually be kind of nice too. I know Phasmo does that, and that's been a good one. Like, it seems like they could just have presets that you'd select with the color picker. The color picker is always already in the client. They do have presets that you're selecting with a color picker. That's literally what this is. They just only have 12 presets. Hot take, the Neocom search will be how you interact with AI Aura? I don't think so. I think that's going to be like on the bottom. I'm actually really... It is interesting that we did get an Eve Evolved without a peep about Aura, although we do have apparently 2 more weeks of Eve Evolved, so strap in, guys. We still have time. Any rate, so the Neocom search will let you know what you're looking for. I know it's around here somewhere. No more relying on muscle memory. It'll be useful as the Eve's toolset grows. And then if we go into hotkeys, because what if... Did I have slash do something before? Can I set it? Where's it at? Did they... Wait. No. No, there it is. Right there. Neocom menu. Wait. So, okay. Was this always a thing? That this hotkey opens up the Neocom? So you actually can hit this. It's a backslash by default. You can hit that anywhere and it pops open the Neocom at the search function. And then you could... Can you... Interesting. Okay, so it used to be that you could actually like navigate the UI pretty effectively with just keys. But this now, oh boy, now I can't do anything. Even if I hit slash again, it doesn't open up the search function. All right, well, not perfect. Which is probably going to be my summary of most of this patch. All right, so the next thing though. Cursor at a glance. Cursory glance. Amplifying the cursor. Eve is visually designed, dense by design. You need to keep track of a lot of information, and your cursor can easily get lost in all the windows, nebulae, and pesky gankers trying to blow you up. So now there's a cursor size. This is why the long-requested improvement has been added. The ability to choose your mouse cursor size. It's a small change, but a big quality of life update. So if we go here, we can see, here's my cursor size. I can go to user interface, right? I think. Right? There it is, cursor size. Large. So this is large. It's larger, that's sure. Can I still target things just fine? Can I still hit? Yeah, I mean, I still have enough precision. And then if I bump it up to extra large, I mean, Eve's player base is aging, so the cursor size is a real issue when running Eve at 2K or higher res. That's fair, yeah. I play mine on a 4K monitor by default, or like this is running on one, but maybe, I don't know. I can still hit with somewhat precision, But there is an interesting bug that is being talked about, which is, let me read it real quick. Changing the cursor size to large or huge makes it so you cannot place buildings in PI or decommission buildings without a huge amount of lag, makes the UI very unresponsive and difficult to click. Okay, so we're going to open up our FPS monitor. Oh my god, this cursor's huge. All right. 48 and 9-inch monitor, it can help to have a big cursor. Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, no, they're working on AI Aura. Okay, so if I open up my PI, I lose my frames per second window. There it is. I don't have... Do I need to change it? Oh. I can't change it while having it open? Hold on. No, because if I hit escape... Am I just not able to recreate the issue? I'm not having any issue. Whatever VF... It could be... Well, no, yeah. You wouldn't have had a trouble yesterday. This is all today stuff. Open templates. Load. I mean, this is working fine. And this guy says that it broke all of my PI templates, but my PI template looks fine. Oh, wait, hold on. Am I having issues? Is this a normal issue to have? Where, like, I grab it and yeah, it looks like I'm having some interesting, like, issues with, like, ratio, you know? Like, my cursor moves half the planet, but the thing that the cursor's controlling goes the whole planet, and it's, like, rotating at, like, random times. It's like it doesn't quite know where the cursor is. And also, yeah, you can see that my FPS did struggle during that time. So that is true. Let's go to extra large, see what happens. Control F to open this back up. If we go to open templates, load. So does this make the problem even worse? Yes, it does. So the bigger the cursor, it appears like the bigger the difference between, like, they just got the scaling wrong. So if we just a triple check, we can go back to a normal cursor and it should behave normally. Control F. Open templates, load. So now it should... Oh no, it's still, this has nothing, the size of the cursor has nothing to do with it. Yeah, the size of the cursor doesn't seem to have anything to do with either of the issues that I'm seeing, at least. So unless there's somebody else, some other way to fix this, I don't know what they're talking about. This is my problem, is that they, like, literally I'm having to chase around Reddit to see all of the people complaining about little individual things because they're not being collected into the known issue thread right now. Also, okay, hold on. There is one that I do want to check out because CCP Swift said that there is an update to this one and it should have been fixed probably by now, but I'm not 100% sure because we're not getting any information about stuff. So there is an issue. Let's actually see if we can just cause it or find it. PI UI is just terrible to begin with. Yeah, that's true. All right, hold on. My Neocom is too big now. That's kind of too small. At any rate. So my goal... I can pull out my Magnate Navy issue. And I can put my mobile depot in there. And undock in my Odysseus. Good job. I missed a step. I like to think of Eve as more of an RTS than an RPG anyways. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what scale or what, like, what scale of operations you're engaging with the game with, right? There are definitely people that play the game on a strategic level. There are people that play it on a tactical level. I mean, a lot of people are, you know, the people that play it on a strategic level often also play it on a tactical level, but yeah, that skin is really good. All right, so this guy, this isn't going to do it, right? No. This, okay, so some people have been complaining about the visuals of this, and because oh shoot, I haven't even gotten to that part of the dev blog yet. Hold on, spoilers. All right, so can we go to the Angel Burrow? Hopefully there's somebody doing it. No, there's nobody doing it because we're in a system by ourselves. Hopefully we don't get killed. So the idea is that if I can find like a wreck or a thing that belongs to someone else, the bug is that when I try to pull up their information, I get like just some default, like it doesn't pull the ID correctly. And so I get a broken show info. I just want to see if I can get it to work. There's some people here. Maybe the Angel Refuge will have somebody. Boo. Can I warp in the site? Is this this isn't a dead space pocket, right? So I could just like burn 50 kilometers. I think. Should be able to warp to this, right? When I get to 150. Seems like such a dumb idea. Selecting someone in local? That works. Maybe they fixed it? Did they fix it? Now I won't be able to know if they fixed it or not. I thought it was when looting, when doing Rex. Oh no, I can't. I can't just, whatever. We'll just keep going then. I bet you I'll be able to find a wreck in like Heck or something. Oh, shoot. My monitor. Hang in there. Oh, there's lots of wrecks now. But I don't see anywhere jumping out as being the source of those wrecks. Let's do some D-scanning. I could do it in Pochfin. Wait. They are all there. It's in the Abyssal Artifact Recovery channel area. Which, I mean, I could go in there. That sounds like a good way to lose my ship. Hold on a second, let me pull this up. But I mean, let's just go check out Heck. I bet you there's something deployed in Heck that I can go look at. Because like mobile depots and mobile tractor units do too. Yeah, they normally do, you're right. Oh, wait. So let's go. Let's go check out these asteroid belts.
Warp drive active.
We are also going to cover the MER today. Which, speaking of which, I need to make sure I don't waste too much time. Not this one.
Warp drive active.
They said that this was going to be fixed within the hour, and they said that over an hour ago. Also, there's no wrecks. Where? Is this really like outside the station? Oh, they could have mobile depots at the station or at the gate. That's probably what it is. In theory, that's a back-end change, not a client one. Yes. However, he did say, just an update, quick fix coming down the pipeline should be ready within the next hour. There will be no emergency restart required. Simply relaunching the client when the fix is out. We'll also have instructions in the launcher. So, yeah, I don't know for sure. All right, it is at the gate. Should have just gone to the gate. Of course, mobile depot gates near trade hubs have mobile depots anchored at them. I should have known. I think. Wait, there it is. Okay, so if I go look at this one, show info. No, it's all working. They must have fixed it. I can't recreate the problem. Everything's fine, guys. The patch is perfect. No issues at all. Oh boy. Well, fine. Let's go ahead and dock back up.
Warp drive active.
Next. It just works. Yeah, no, it's great. Everything's fine. Windowed players can now select one of 3 cursor sizes. Didn't we already talk about that? This makes our cursor much easier to see at a glance and track across different screen resolutions and setups, especially for larger, higher resolution displays. Your cursor stays visible during fast and visually dense moments. Precision action feels consistent across different screen sizes. I do like the idea of like being able to change, especially with it being bigger with that fatter white bar, you should be able to change its color. That makes sense. It's a small adjustment. Improve the moment-to-moment control every time you play. Cursor visibility is also vital for accessibility for players with reduced vision or eye strain. All right, so here we go. Expanded corporation branding. The update to the UI that nobody was asking for. Oh, hold on. Somebody's... Joining a corporation is important for building friendships and a sense of community within the vast world of New Eden. In turn, the identity of the corporations plays a significant role, with each cultivating a unique culture and a set of values. This shared identity helps players connect on a deeper level as they align their goals and interests, creating lasting connections that extend beyond the game itself. A corporation's visual identity creates a sense of belonging with elements like logos and colors, creating a shared aesthetic that unifies members around a common purpose and identity. Corporation palettes allow player corporations to showcase their identity in their freelance projects. Today, these are spreading even further with the addition of corporation branding to offices and stations, character information, corporation profiles, and corporation panels. Look, I've made a lot of UI before, and I've designed a lot of UI, and I've been part of a lot of UI discussions before. And like, it's always a thing about like, you want it to like be exciting. This is why a lot of the earliest like web 1.0 websites were so visually noisy, was because like you want things to be exciting and you want things to pop and, you know, you want things to be colorful, or, you know, you feel like you should be able to do that. But over time, there's a reason why UI went to flat colored buttons and, you know, whatever, because at a certain point, utilitarianism does win out when it comes to UI, and clean UI looks better than messy UI. And, you know, colors can be a big piece of that, but a big piece of it is actually gutters and alignment. Hold on, before I go any deeper, I just realized I was going to say something and I haven't actually validated if it's true. And now that I say it, now that I was about to say it, I'm going to question it, which is that, like, is there, hold on, Eve Online Photon Style Guide. Is there a Photon Style Guide? No, I don't want your your AI-based search. There should be. Okay, well, there's not. The problem is we run into things like, anyone remember websites with frames? Oh my God. I remember when frames were considered like the king of websites. You know why? Actually, hold on. Okay, this is not Eve. Fun fact. Do you know why there were frames in websites and why there is no longer frames in websites? Does anybody know why? While I pull this up, let's see if anybody can guess it. But in the meantime, let me... So this doesn't get changed right here, but this does. No clue. So this is the first one that people notice as being a mess. And the biggest thing here is we can see, like, when this was all one color, these paddings didn't really matter, right? Because, like, the padding above... That's true, Jeff. The padding above... Well, you can at least verify my answer then, Jeff. The padding above decorations and the padding below the corporation standings. Like, we can now see that this section of the window is a section of the window. Whereas before, these kind of would bleed into each other. And so it did... Because the fact that we've colored in this window, we can now see all of the paddings and borders. We can see that there's this nice padding here, there's nice padding here, but there's no padding between the corporation standings and the bottom of the screen. And so this feels claustrophobic and messy. Combine that with the fact that it is just a color on an otherwise normal screen, makes this, instead of looking like a header, it just looks a little bit out of place and a mess, right? To make things worse, this now makes the colors of your branding like relevant. You could actually make your corporation's branding make this information harder to read, right? I could have made this white instead of purple, and I'm pretty sure if I had done that, man, can I do that without damaging things for too long? At least Malak is watching, so that way if anything goes terribly wrong, he can at least see, like, he knows what's going on. Can I edit the colors? Can I? Oh boy. So this one, this is C2, 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 C2. So hashtag C2, 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 C2. Nope. One too many. C2, C2, C2. Ah, okay. So does that just work? Is that automatic? Hold on. Nice. Nice. Message not found. Prompt discard corp color changes. Args none. No, I don't want to discard my color changes. How do I... Oh, here we go. Update. Okay, so this is now... Oh, okay, so that makes it darker. But what if we go with, like... What is it? FFFFFFF? Update. Okay, so it doesn't quite do it, but you could make this very much more challenging to view, which is a kind of a problem because it makes it so that now you have a different reason to brand it, your colors a certain way for its like visual confusion value, which is a wild thing to be true. Not sure if I'm very happy about that. So it's the 60% version, but also I think that might get influenced by maybe it could be influenced by things like the transparencies. I'm not sure. But the point is that this is making people already pretty angry. And then, wait, we were even at the corporation window. This isn't branded. I don't know why this wouldn't be branded. All right, well then I assume they mean this window. Yeah, okay, so this window is also branded. And then corporation panels, but they say... Okay. I would have expected this area to be branded. I guess there's that. But they said corporation panels. Interesting. I don't know. Maybe they mean this? Yeah, the Alliance doesn't have any branding. Well, I mean, yes, there is a certain amount of, like, grr, change grr. But the point of the matter is that, like, I don't know. I feel like this kind of just shows a little bit of the clunkiness of the UI, and just making panels colorful isn't necessarily... Like, people want branding on their skins, right? People want branding on things that they can present to people. Maybe it could be cool to be on your main corporation window or whatever, like the tools that you use. Or even, like, what's crazy is that they even just did a new color theme. It'd be cool if you could match your color theme to your corporation more easily. Like, if you could just have your corporation be automatically on here as a theme to pick. Like those could have been interesting ways of like bringing your branding into your like everyday life. I don't know if this is the best way to have gone, especially, I don't know, there's a part of me that feels like this is the first thing like this since the whole corporate branding thing came out in Legion, and it just, I don't know, man, this doesn't feel like much. Also, I guess my other grumpiness is we got yet another Eve Evolved involving large Neocom and everything updates, and we didn't get those new super compact windows yet, and that, I'm going to just say, is starting to piss me off. All right, let's get back to why we have frames. Or why we had frames but don't anymore. The issue actually was the fact that a website, when you go to it, is a static thing, right? You query the website, you ask the website for the information, the website gives you that information. Even if the website itself gets that information dynamically at the time, right? Like if you Google, or if you, if you used Alta Vista back then, or well, technically Google was there back then, you would type in Google and then you would hit search, and that would send you to a new page, and that new page would have the results. So behind the scenes, it would do all the searching for the stuff. It would make the HTML for that page and all the CSS and everything it needs, and then it would send it to you. And that's how content delivery systems work, even to this day, right? But the problem is that once it sends it to you, that's it. That you have that information, and now in order to get more information, you would have to know to go get more information from the website. The website can't let you know when there's an update because you're not listening for that. You have to go and check with them and get it back, right? And so when a page is being presented to you in the old days, it was static because it was whatever got sent to you at the time. And so like if I had a navigation bar that I wanted to be stable, right? I want people to be able to go throughout my website, but I also want to have a navigation area so that way they can jump between things, and I want that to not change. So when they select something over here, that makes the main window update, so that way I can like navigate and keep navigations. That, in order to do that, I technically need to have two different websites: the navigation panel and the content panel, and that is where frames come in. By making two different frames, I can make it so that now I'm basically loading two different websites. And so when I update this panel doesn't necessarily get updated. And that's why we had panels or frames. Now, why don't we have frames anymore? The answer is Ajax, right? So a while back with, back in the earlier days of browsers, back in the day of Flash games, or Flash stuff, and Java, right? Java was developed as this like universal programming language where rather than in the case of most programming languages that get either they have to be compiled, in other words, they you take the code and you translate it into machine code or whatever that runs on that machine, and that makes it efficient. That's what like executables and stuff like that are based off of. Or you have an interpreted language, which is basically just the plain text gets sent, and then there's a program on the local machine that goes through that plain text and effectively runs the script on the fly. That's how websites work, right? Websites don't give you encrypted information. It doesn't give you stuff that's designed for your computer specifically. It just gives you the HTML, the CSS, the plain text information, and then your browser functions as an interpreter, putting all these things together and presenting it on screen. And the browser is, of course, compiled and designed for your kind of machine specifically. This is why you can't like take an Apple application and run it on a PC. Those are different architectures, and so the code has to be translated into the architecture that it's going to be run on. A Windows program has to be compiled on a Windows machine, and it will only run on a Windows machine. And same with Apple and other places like that. So to get around this and to help with web, they created what's called an interpreted language, or a semi-compiled language, sorry. So you have the base, previously you either compiled it to the base machine or you interpret it on the fly. In this case, you actually create a virtual machine that runs on the local machine that functions as a very powerful intermediary between that machine's code and the higher level stuff. and this is the Java runtime engine. So as long as any machine that is running the Java runtime engine, that Java runtime engine knows how to take that semi-compiled Java code, also known as Java bytecode, and quickly turn it into machine code. So this is why like Java can run on everything, because everything has its own Java interpreter kind of just sitting right on top of the metal, or at least a lot of machines do, right? So this was a big thing back then. Like, oh my God, I can write a program that will run on any machine, not just like my type of machine. That's really powerful. So in the early days of browsers, they were like, we need to have it was Netscape. They were like, we need to have some sort of programming language that can run in the browser, right? So in the same way that Java kind of functions as this intermediary, we need a script, we need a type of code that we can put into our websites that can run in our browsers that will like function as that kind of can run everywhere sort of thing. But now it's actually it's just using scripted language instead of semi-compiled programming, right? And so because Java was so hot back then, they called this language JavaScript, right? JavaScript became like this functional language to use in browsers. Now, actually, this is one of those things that JavaScript and Java have only tangentially related to each other. They literally only called it JavaScript to capitalize on the popularity and understanding of Java as a tool for program once, deploy everywhere. So same sort of idea, totally different implementation. But the point is that JavaScript becomes popular and becomes accessible within the browser. So now you have a way to run code on the browser, and that code can be active in this. Unlike the rest of the data, unlike, you know, HTML or even CSS, this is static data. This is just, all it is information and little tags that let you know stuff about the information. That's what HTML is, right? Markup. It's a markup language. It's like, oh, this is bold, this is green, this is blue, this is a hyperlink that leads to here. That's it. But with JavaScript, you now actually can have a script that's running live while that website is loaded. And so it can do things in a much more active way. And so after a couple of years of this, that gets further evolved to AJAX. AJAX is asynchronous JavaScript. So now you have a protocol which makes it so that I can have a thing on my website. You can come to my website, I can send you the code, and now it sends the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript. And the JavaScript runs in the background. And the JavaScript communicates with my backend server. So now I can update the website's information live. Something can happen to the website after it's already been loaded, and I still have some way to actively do something about it because the JavaScript can. And then there's one more piece to this, which is called jQuery, which was basically just this robust JavaScript engine, or like a tool that allowed you to identify any given like UI element in the screen very easily to do things like update a web page. So now with all these tools combined, we can now have a website that updates on the fly. And we can have tools where, like, now when you search Google, you no longer have to hit enter and go to a whole separate website, which is the web results. As you're typing in Google or hit enter, it doesn't actually move to a different page. It's just the rest of the page updates, because they've replaced the frames. It used to be that the top bar would have to be a frame and the bottom bar would be a second frame. But now that we have AJAX and now that we have jQuery, we can actually do it so that there's two panels, the top panel and the second panel, also known as divs, and we can update that second panel based on what happens in the first panel without refreshing the whole page. See, that's why we didn't have frames, then we did have frames and they were very popular, and now we don't have frames anymore. So in the same sort of way, to bring this back, this is a div, right? This is a section of the UI, and again, with the way that things were stacked, the fact that these were both... See, if I go to the Alliance panel, we can't actually notice, it's hard to notice the difference. We can't actually see that this, like the tip of this my icon actually pushes against the bottom of this frame, right? Or of this panel. But the fact that these parts have so much of a buffer makes this all look right. But when I make these two different colors, I can suddenly see where the padding of the top panel ends and the padding of these icons begin. And to a lot of people, this just looks wrong. It looks imbalanced. And this is why UI development, this is why UI can be tricky, right? It's little things. And people aren't even necessarily going to know what they don't like about it. But if you go look at Reddit right now, there's a lot of people like nitpicking this stuff. And I feel like this is a bit of an unforced error. But wait a minute. Why is this colors... Wait. What is happening? I changed my colors. Did you change the colors again? Did somebody change the colors again? Malak changed the colors again. Okay, I noticed. So, there you go. That it was white. No, it's always been purple, orange, and white, because the white was the silver. But I'm okay with this. This is fine. It was always orange, yellow, and silver. Or at least I was not sure it was blue, white. Well, it was supposed to be orange, yellow, and silver. I'm pretty sure. But... Or, I guess, no, purple, orange, and silver. Purple, orange, and silver. Either way. Doesn't matter. There you go. Is there anything else to talk about? Let's see. True colors for new pilots. Netscape Navigator, Alta Vista. Ask Jeeves. All right. The first moments in EVE Online matters. New Eden is deep, complex, and shaped by its players, but before any of that can unfold, new pilots must be able to see, understand, and act with confidence. That is why new characters now start with the photon color theme enabled by default. This is one of those things that, like, I've gotten. Why are so many people like noticing me today? Either way, CCP like says like high level stuff that's true, and then it feels like the feature that they tie it to is just not a good justification of that, because you're right. It is absolutely true that like making sure that new players can see, understand, and act with confidence is hugely important. I am unconvinced that slightly changing the UI theme from one to another as by default is going to be as much, but maybe they've done the A/B testing. Maybe they know something that I don't. Previously, new players probably have done their A/B testing, probably know something that I don't. Previously, new players were assigned the colors theme based on the selected Empire faction. While visually distinct, those themes could be sometimes conflict with important UI conventions, such as using red to signal danger or urgency. Wait a minute, that's weird, because that's actually not true. Is that true? Oh, okay. So like by default, they actually always had their Empire. Because like, here's the thing. Is this still true? Somebody tell me if this is still true. It used to be true that the match theme to active ship was an Omega only feature. I guess now Omega pilots can create and save their own custom themes. I guess they've always been able to select whichever one of the presets that they wanted. Your starting faction. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, so can alphas do the match theme to active ship thing? I don't know. Either way. So by default, they now have like a generic photon convention, which is fine, I guess. The photon color theme is designed to avoid these conflicts and to present information clearly and consistently. I do notice it was the original default theme and has now been reinstated as the standard starting experience. Okay, sure. We're just... Wow. we set the default to the old like we changed it so that the defaults went to the race, and now we've changed it back to the old default. But like all of this extra flower makes it sound like it's some sort of deep understanding of things, which I'm not sure if that's either way, whatever. I feel like I'm being extra negative today because of everything else, so whatever. It's true. That's true. It's like basically the Caldari color. Everybody's Caldari now. It's weird because like you would think if your issue is things like visual distinctness, as in red as a signal danger or urgency, like the obvious thing is like red-green colorblind, right? So that's why they're going with like a teal instead of a green. Maybe the Galente colors are actually make it really hard to see red because of red-green colorblind. But like blue-green colorblind is also a thing. Are we saying that we don't use green to indicate anything? I guess maybe not. But like you would think that if your actual issue was conflict with color, you would go with a... You would avoid both blue and green as well as red in your default colors, but whatever. No, red looks good. Mimitar's theme looks good. Let's see. I mean, I think that looks fine. Also, like, this is a lot less impactful than any of us are giving credit for. Like, it just makes it so it's like an orangish reddish tint at the top and stuff, as opposed to Photon, which is like this soft blue. But that's the thing, like, even the Mimitar one isn't, like, danger red. It's, like, orange. It's rusty. One flag cruiser gets an entire corp reduced security standings. Well, that's already an issue. I linked a picture of what alphas have available to them. So yeah, I guess they can't. So you can check the match theme to active ship button, Jeff. So yeah, they just made it so that Carbon, Ore, and Servant Sisters of Eve themes are Omega, and then you can make custom ones. Such a weird thing. Must be important to them. All right, the Photon color theme is designed to avoid the... improve readability across windows, icons, and text, a clearer visual hierarchy, a more consistent experience across ships, stations, and activities, reduce color conflicts that can obscure meaning or context. Players still retain full control. It's so weird that they're talking about their concerns about color conflicts in the exact same patch and update in which they allowed our custom color schemes to now become the background color with text over it, right? Like, how do you muddy big parts of the UI at the same time as talking about how important it is to not obscure meaning or context? I don't know. Okay, cool, good job. Well, I still feel like these two things should have just been one thing. You should have just had the ability to have player color, like one of the color themes that you should be able to pick is just your corporation color themes. All right, players can still retain full color of the UI preference. All existing themes will remain available. This gives new pilots the strongest possible starting point while preserving freedom of choice for everyone. And then that's it. So there are more updates coming in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we get the micro UI thing finally. Any other wish lists that we have for EVE Evolved besides this patch just not being terrible? Yeah, this is the update. This is the error that I was trying to recreate, but wasn't able to because, you know, as CCP Swift says, I think that it already got fixed. If we go to Hobo Leaks, oh, there is another weird one. Okay, hold on. We we got to go to patch notes to see some more ship lights. Maybe, sure. There could be some improvements to the. I would not be surprised if there weren't improvements to like the LOD and the optimization using the lights, so that way they can bring them back to the things that they had to take them off of. All right, so in the patch notes we see added the search bar, 3 different mouse cursor sizes. Neocoms can be customized by color, except for the ones that they customize by color. I don't think that there'll be much more for UI changes for now. I mean, other than fixing it, right? What else? So, like, if this is the kind of stuff that they were talking about, is there anything else when it comes to UI updates that they've hinted about recently that we've been ignoring? I just want the micro UI. Let me see if I can find what I'm talking about. Yeah, holy shit, this is what I want. Okay, let's be real. This is all I want, and it's upsetting to me that we haven't gotten this yet. Like, can you imagine these UI elements? So all you have is, for instead of locations, is like a big section with like you have to scroll down. You just have a drop down. You can pre-select your location, and when time comes, you just warp to it. You know, like, you could just have these bars be available. What if you don't need all of your local? You just want the number of people of different types in local with you. Why don't we have this yet? Why don't we have this yet? I find it unacceptable that this was shown to us in February of 2023, 3 years ago. We have gotten new colors. We have gotten new icons. We've gotten the ability to color icons. We've gotten new ways of... Why have we not gotten these yet, and why are we not more mad about this? Yeah, let's all get to Jita. Let's go. Yeah, you weren't upset until... Exactly. This is what they have promised us. This is every time I talk about, like, oh, well, there's micro... Why haven't they come up with micro UI elements? Do you see what I'm saying? Like the stream if I'm right. No, seriously. Like, I need this in my life. Why don't we have it yet? Let this be the thing that they're doing. Anywho, what else could they be doing? Let me know what you think. Okay. In the patch notes, Corp palette, good. Okay, so fix a homefront dungeon issue where players couldn't use stargates if dungeon was spawned too close to the stargate. Here, who asked for color? A lot of people did, but they didn't. This isn't what they meant. The correct mining scanner button. Oh, sorry. Remove the ability to experience critical successes when mining certain mission-specific ores, so that the amount of ore available in the site will once again match the ore required by the mission exactly. So this is fine. This makes sense. This was the same sort of thing that they had to do in Residue, right? Like, it used to be, if there were 500 units of rocks, or 500 units of ore in a rock, and you mined it until it was dead, you would always have 500 units of ore in your cargo hold. That's how it worked. And so if the mission required you to turn in 500 units of ore, they could put 500 units of ore in the rock and know that the person could go out there, mine that 500 units, and then turn it in. And then they put in waste. And waste makes it so that every once in a while when you mine, it destroys a certain amount of rocks on top of the rocks that you mine. So now you might end up with less than 500 units of rocks. And that was a problem. And so they had to fix it. So that way certain rocks don't have waste, right? That makes sense. But then with Cataclysm, they added in crits. And with crits, you get extra rocks, right? And that rock comes from nowhere. And so now you might end up with more than 500 units in your cargo hold. And that theoretically, for the balance of things, could be bad too. And so they've decided to change it so that now you don't get waste and you don't get crits. So 500 units of rocks, 500 units of ore, 500 units required for the mission. Everything works. What's the problem? That seems convoluted. Just make a rock 2 times what the mission requires. Yeah, except for Havoc. The problem then is now you have extra rock that is only useful for those missions, which means at a certain point, it's going to be more valuable to just buy the rock from the market because there's so much in excess to turn in for your mission rather than actually mine the mission itself, which might be fine. Like, that's not necessarily a bad... that fact alone is not good or bad, but that would be an effect of allowing there to just be extra rock generated every single time somebody does a mission based on how much they mine it out, how many crits they get, right? And you can think it's not that impactful, but I'm just saying, like, there's a reason why as a designer you might, like, zero in on this. That said, this isn't the reason why I felt like I needed to drill in on this. There's also adjusted the expedition strength and expedition pinpointing charges, so they now apply their effects to ships more consistently. So, but when we go to Hobo Leaks, we find something very, very interesting. So we have this new stat called Ignore Mining Crits, which gets set from none to 0. And I just realized by looking at this that I'm actually wrong about what I was about to say, and so it's actually fine. Never mind, it's fine. But I do want to show you that there is this new Ignore Mining Crits stat on rocks. So we can see here on this special kind of jaspit, right? This special kind of jaspit has Ignore Mining Crits from none to 1. So when the attribute Ignore Mining Crits is set to 1, that means that this object, this rock, cannot... while you're mining it, you do not get crits. Or if you do get crits, it doesn't give you any extra rock. So I had read it wrong 100 times. I probably, hold on, is there Ignore Waste? If I remember correctly, there is, but let me just check real quick. If we go to this rock in EVREF, we can see that it has 2 flags, Ignore Mining Waste and Ignore Mining Crit, both set to 1. So that's how they do it. And then what I had not caught that yet. And so all I saw was Mordunium and all them also getting the attributes. But you can see here that they actually got set to 0. So you can still crit with Mordunium, you can still crit with Ephirium, and all these other ones. I was just confused at first because a lot of the other basics aren't here, right? Like Veldspar, Pladge, like all the normal stuff isn't here. Just the compressed stuff, which is obviously you're not mining compressed stuff. What I would like to see is if things are on this list of like Ignore Mining Crits, Ignore Mining Waste, then maybe they should no longer be considered of that type for things like turn-ins. Like the fact that Veldspar Isotope can be turned in as Veldspar to corp projects is a pain in the ass. That's why I don't like this, because they added 2 stats to every rock in the game to fix what I like non-issue. That's not really fair, because like there's tons of flags in these games, or in this game, in order to control this or that. And like to have this balanced is actually really, really good. And to have this policy for how this gets done is also really, really good. Because like, for instance, you say, oh, well, these events aren't done very, or these missions aren't done very much. Okay, but where is it? I think, well, here's a good example. Chthonic Atar, that's an event ore, right? Just remember, we do events as well. And so, and there's also things like home fronts, right? I'm pretty sure if I dig into this, I'll be able to find, is the... I'm not able to find it right now, but my point is that like just because mining missions aren't done very much doesn't mean the fact that the amount of ore cannot be guaranteed by CCP. The amount of ore that is extracted by special rocks cannot be guaranteed by CCP due to mining crits and waste. That is not acceptable from a design point of view, right? But what if my ship gets blown up by a rat 20% of the way through the rock? Then I just can't complete the mission. Correct, and that is how it is designed. In fact, somebody else can come in and mine your site and break your ability to do that site, just like somebody can come into your mission and steal the loot off of one of the wrecks and make it so that you can't complete the thing. And as far as like lines of code goes, it's just a check. Like, in fact, it's probably not even a change to the, well, yeah, it would just be a check. Like if not ignore mining crits, then crit. It's so yes, it is technically an extra line of code potentially, but like it's better to create a system that is robust. We don't have any idea what their future events are going to be, what future tasks are going to look like. I'm reminded of things like the one where we built the mining, or we did the mining for the Stargate. Now, granted, you could argue that maybe it'd be okay for there to be crits, but the fact that they have control of whether or not a crit happens on any given material is just good. That's correct. I'm not gonna that's just correct. And so the fact that it isn't very impactful right now, like that level of thinking, no offense, Havoc, like that is the kind of thinking that gets us into severe, painful technical debt, where 2 years from now, we realize that no one thought about it at the time that it was being made to give this level of flexibility or extensibility. And so now we just can't do it, right? Like, it's better to create a system that's robust and deals with the situations that happen, rather than say like, it's so much of an edge case, it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. That said, I do agree that like crits are obviously significantly less impactful or problematic for the game than waste is. Yeah, it's better to create a system and then not use them than to have them, than not have them. That is absolutely correct. When you're building these kinds of systems, you need to be forward thinking about what might happen in the future. Either way. Then we also have this. This is the change for how the expedition burst like applies to things. And we can see that basically this was how did it change? Let's see. It's hard to arg. I'm having difficulty parsing out these changes per se, but what we can see is that they've added these effects to the individual launchers. So I can't really speak to exactly what they're happening here, but like I guess the problem is that the bursts weren't applying correctly to all the different things that it could apply to, and so now they've changed. They've made some modifications to make it so that everything kind of applies the way it's supposed to. Check values in the ore hold is basically justified lore reasoning to reduce or eliminate waste for equipping mining vessels or anyone for that matter. Wait, what? Check valves into the ore hold is basically justified lore reasoning to reduce or eliminate waste for equipping mining vessels or anyone. Well, I've always thought about the fact that like waste comes from like the bigger scoops you're taking out of something, the more like imprecise you're being. And so you could actually, because like not the entire rock is usable material. And so the idea is that if you're taking bigger chunks, you may have worse precision on what is being extracted. So you end up destroying more of the usable material versus the rocks when you're doing that. I've always thought of waste being that way, which is why like better skills and more precision boosts and stuff allows you to avoid waste. All right. Project managers receive a notification mail if jobs in the ACL has been deleted from the job. Coverage ratio on ship insurance freelance jobs has been turned into a percentage instead of ISK. Very dangerous given the value of things. We're using lasers so they run hotter and create more slag. Now, hold on. Now I got to see. Is there a lore? No, it just says a bulk ore extractor designed for use on mining barges or zoomers. Now I want to drill into the lore of the strip miners. I'm okay with this system. I'm probably made too much of an issue. It's a good question though, Havoc. It's not like, I get what you're saying, especially on days like today where it's like, why are you doing these things? But just realize like how, in the grand scheme of things, like how small of an effort it is to make that kind of fix versus how useful it is to have that kind of fix already built in. Check valves in liquid systems allow single directional flow. Waste from actual ore hold falling into space by loading more could be mitigated by check valves. I've always wanted the idea of like ventures can fit a thing that allows them to basically collect the waste that happens in their area. So in the same way that like an alpha pilot or a newer pilot can follow along a more experienced pilot doing level 4 missions and just salvage. So like normally that mission runner would just do the missions and then move on, wouldn't bother salvaging, not worth it to them. But if they have a friend that, you know, can't necessarily run level 4 missions, that salvage might be good value to them. So they'll want to follow you around. And in that relationship, that person that's doing the salvaging is effectively creating free value, right? Because that value would have just been lost by that experienced pilot because he was just going to move on to the next thing. So I've been asking for it since waste was first announced, that we need to have like a tool that can be put on a venture that allows a newer pilot to sit there. It doesn't do any mining on its own, but if any waste occurs within its radius of control, then it grabs that waste and it takes it for itself. So that way, if you have a second person, you could do it as an alt, whatever, that's sitting there being your little supporter, then you can actually counter the waste by having these dudes, you know, sucking it up. Maybe they only get a certain percentage of it, so you need more than one of them to ensure that you get all of it or something. Like, I think that allowing someone else to catch the residuals that are beneath the attention of the bigger, more powerful pilots, I think that is like the mentality that should be like thought about more when it comes to CCP and building fleets. Gotta play Gunjack for all the mining lore. That's true. The underlying data of a bookmark, where is it stored, locally or in the server? They have to be stored server side. Because otherwise, you wouldn't be able to share them with ACLs. All lore sounds, I absolutely like asteroid waste, but dropping from a hold is just bad ship design. You wish they were local? Why? Can't you can look up your bookmark? Can't you look up bookmarks via API? Like you don't need them to be local. Okay. All right. We're running low on time, actually, because it's Wednesday and I've got appointments. So we got to jump into the other main topic of the day, which is the monthly economic report for January 2026. Don't be sorry. Yeah, if it was local, we'd be able to modify it, and that sounds terrifying. All right. Monthly economic report for January 2026 is now available. Mining activity increased following changes introduced in the Catalyst expansion. Who would have thought? Ice mining volume increased during the Winter Nexus event period. Also a shock. The ship price index continues to decline with an approximate 20% decline over the last year. The mineral price index continues to decline with approximate 50% decline over the last year. Monkey paw curl, man. All you guys complaining about mining needing love and mining from nullsec mining, blah, 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 blah. The value, this is the whole thing. Like, this has always been one of those things I've been talking about when it comes to people with Eve and like mining and all this stuff, all the way back to the reign of the Rorqual and all that stuff, where it's like, when scarcity was like a big thing, people are like, oh my God, there's so much less mining done. Like, this is so terrible for new players. But it made it so that the mining that they did do was so much more valuable now, because just the value of everything, of all the rocks, was worth more because there wasn't Rorquals doing 100 times more mining than everybody else. But now, you know, we're seeing these corrections from historical highs, and that means historical drops. That's going to be painful. Minor consistency fixes for plot names. I also have previous months just so we can look at them. We can see here production, destruction, and history. Look at that production. That production has not gone down, guys. We've been watching this for a while now. We can see from 2021, this is the highest production has ever been in since before 2021, which, if I remember correctly, that means it's one of the highest production spikes in history of Eve. I wish I could. Oh man, I have a unified thing that I whatever. I'm not going to look that up right now. CSP should let players enter in coordinates for Warp 2 anyway. That is. I used to feel that way too. That would be a nightmare. That would be so problematic. There would be no such thing as safes anymore. Mining proportion by meta location. So we can see in January, so in October, November, December, so like around this big spike. So Catalyst comes out, there's this huge spike in mining, but then it falls back off. It's still higher than it was before. In fact, it's about the same stage as like previous spikes, but this big spike came with the beginning of the expansion. And we can see that here, that a lot of that spike was in high sec, with some of it, you know, across the board. You know, it gets a little bit spikier in low sec, a little bit spikier in null sec, or NPC Sov. The spike actually gets kind of completely wiped out by the time you get to actual null, because, you know, they were mining too. Remember, this is a ratio, right? So basically we see this big spike in the comparative mining of high sec versus null sec, but then that quickly gets recovered, and null sec has been, you know, scaling up ever since, right? And some of that has to do with a lot of the conflicts, you know, the collapse of Horde and all that sort of stuff. People are getting back to work. People are getting back to business, and we can see that in the fact that null sec is starting to creep back up their overall take of the amount being mined. Production, same kind of thing, less of a spike, but we can definitely see this big bite happening starting January on. Industry and nullsec is coming back kind of online, or is taking a larger chunk of the share. You can even see it's taking a little bite even out of the wormhole thing at the top. Would be easier to just use a probe scanner to find, unless you know the location. Like, we already have people that like warp back and forth to places and make bookmarks halfway in order to try to grab the grid with them. Like, that's already a thing. You don't think that, like, yeah, no, that would be very bad overall. All right, so then destruction, we can see that, I mean, so much of this bar, this is going to be kind of a hard one to tell, but we can see that like the width of the yellow from here to here and from here to here are basically the same. The width of orange, it actually narrows a little bit here or whatever. The width of blue kind of is the same. It's interesting to see that green does scale up and down. That's Pochfin. But this red line of Sov, we can see these big... This is almost like a wrestling match between low sec and sovereignty. Although we do see a big spike in high sec. So high sec during the events, which did have some stuff with ganking during the Crimson Harvest. I don't know. There just was more destruction in November in high sec than normal. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I know some people were saying like this is a showing of how much like destruction is happening in low sec. I don't know if it necessarily I feel like that's selling that point. You can enter oh yeah, no. Okay. It is true that like low sec is seeing a lot of destruction, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the main movers of this chart are actually this high sec spike and null sec, because you can see here it expands in this direction and in this direction at the same time. So that's just a big chunk being taken by null sec and then losing that chunk again and then gaining it a little bit back. November was when pH exploded. Yeah, okay. So, well, we get the spike at the beginning in October. So this is like Crimson Harvest event stuff. And then when Pandemic Horde implodes, that's this big spike of nullsec. And then we have kind of started to chill out, I think. I think that's what we're looking at. Hard to say. Let me know what you guys think. Summary of key economic figures by region. By the way, a friend of the show did provide me this new cool tool where I can come here and be like, okay, shoot, how do I do this? And go here and be like, NPC bounties, clear. I can look at a specific region and be like, what is a good one for the nullsec, like, what's Goon's ratting region? Just pick one. Dark mode. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Hold on. Can I do that easily? Hold on. I wish I could. Hold on. Yeah, the November expansion definitely increased the amount of death in high sec, it looks like. I don't... Is there an easy way to make this into dark mode? Oh no. I'm sorry. Singularity is high sec. What? What does that even mean? At least the chart has a dark background? Okay. Well... I'm working on it. Horizontal axis, white, vertical axis, white. Sure, whatever. We're going to go with that. All right. So we can look at what did we say? Solitude? No. In's mother. So this is Innsmother's bounties by date. Is this correct? So this is from 2016 to 2026. So yeah, you can definitely see what they moved in what, August? Thereabouts? Oh no, that's 2024. Huh. Where else am I? Yeah, that was Innsmother. Anywhere else we want to look at? Each data point is one MER. Okay, cool. Yeah, Wonderlands of the Mind provided this for us. It's going to be, it's interesting to play around with. We can look at, does Pochfin have good information? Well, other than the fact that it didn't exist until, wow. Whoa. Okay. Amencia. Well, there you see in December of 2024, this goes up and it basically stays up from that point on. So I don't remember exactly when all these timeline of events happened, but this is a pretty cool tool. Let me know if somebody wants it to, looking for NPC bounties on Droneland regions. Can't just look up drone lands though, right? I have to... What are the drone land regions? I thought that's what we were looking up. Branch, Curse, Derelict, Detroit. Ethereum Reach is a Faithobolus. Maybe Faithobolus? That's a rogue drone system, or drone lands area. Interesting. Either way, could be fun. We'll see if this gets useful for the rest of this report. Ethereum Reach. Yeah. You can definitely see when drone lands became more popular in 2024, like across the board. That's very interesting. All right. Key economic figures. This is basically what we were just looking at, right? Because we were looking at the NPC bounties. So this value across time for all these different things. We can we look at the other things? Like, can I look up... can we look up... Yes, we can. Excellent. Asteroid volume mined? Is this still correct? Wait. Am I breaking this now? Because it still says NPC bounties versus date. I want asteroid volume mined. In not Ethereum Reach, in Pochfin. All data is here. Yeah, but like, is this correct? Because like it still says, is the title... Why does the title not change? The title doesn't update. Okay, so this is showing the amount mined in Pochfin. As the date goes on, the date goes up. That's kind of cool. All right, so here we go. Yeah, so this is the amount mined over time. So it looks like mining is down in Pochfin. Is that what we can determine from this? Am I reading this correctly? What about mined value? That's not good. It's a pivot table. All right, I'm not fun. Not going to get too distracted by that right now. But let's see. Loyalty points in Lone Track. That makes sense. Okay, asteroid ore volume mined over time. We can see that there's this big. What is it? So this is the Jesus Christ. The catalyst update happens in November, and so we can just see this big spike in asteroid mined over time across the board. It definitely goes up in HiSec as HiSec basically almost doubles and then falls back down to about 1.5 times the amount mined. And nullsec itself goes from, let's see, 1 to almost a little bit over 1 billion to damn near 3 billion. So yeah, nullsec over doubles, and that's already a heightened amount from the previous changes. And HiSec is also high, and that is reflected in the fact that we had that big spike, and now it's still higher than it was before, even outside of its like largest spikes previously. Now, obviously not as much as all the way back here, which was 2021. This is kind of the end of the reign of the Rorqual, I think, right? It should have been already too late for that in here. I'm gonna have to find the charts from previous years and put them together again. Asteroid ore volume by region. This is why we have the other monthly economic reports. Or, oh yeah, that's right. This one was like backwards. Ice, gas, asteroid. Asteroid ore volume by region. Innsmother, Wicked Creek Fountain, Innsmother, Wicked Creek, Vale of the Silent Fountain, with it going from 20 billion to over 20 billion. So it's gone up a little bit more. Dev added explore control items, so yeah. What? What do you mean? You miss your Rorqual, you sold it to buy a Vargur, never looked back. Yeah, that's... The idea that a Vargur is the same price as a Rorqual is a bit much, but yeah, totally. Good trade, I guess, at this point. So it looks like everything's kind of normal here. Gas volume over time is actually kind of interesting, as we see throughout from November, or from basically December through January, like there's a fall off of gas and then it scoops back up. I imagine, I say this all the time, the kind of people that do gas huffing are the kind of people that do events. And so during events, you see these drop-offs in gas huffing, and then you see a climb back up as people either give up on the event or no longer feel like doing the event or go back to what they were doing before in one way or another. And we see a lot of this effect in gas huffing, in particular wormhole space, but we do see it to a certain extent in nullsec as well. Low sec gas mining huffing seems fairly stable all the time, and high sec gas huffing is basically stable because it's limited by how much it spawns. Basically it gets scooped up whenever it spawns. Events screw up gas huffing, less gas signatures. That's also potentially true, yeah, for sure. It makes it so there's just less gas to be huffed. Not sure how much that would affect wormhole space. Especially since, like, the December event, the Christmas event didn't affect wormhole space at all. So, or at least, like, spawning because they were tied to the winter storms. Gas by region, at least it felt like it, or the minimum there are more SIGs for you to scan before you can find gas. Yeah. Under normal conditions, like there is something to say about that, but I'm not, nothing so definitive that I am going to make a point about it. Here we have, what are we looking at now? Gas. By region. Aridia Lone Trek Derelict with 40 million. It's over 40 million, so it's up. Aridia Tenal Lone Trek. So Tenal goes from 4th place to 2nd place. Lone Trek falls to 3rd. Tenal. Oh, yeah. That's fair. Ice volume mined over time. You can see, I can't imagine what caused all this extra ice to be mined in December specifically, and then immediately end at the beginning of January. No, this was, of course, the winter event, which involved ice mining. So a lot of this ice comes from the winter event specifically. Also, there is also a bigger jump here we can see from the expansion, and it also stayed a little bit higher than it was before. I honestly think that this is probably something that we're going to see a little while for a little while, because of all of the changes in Cataclysm, like the mining crit change rather, it is the most impactful, the most visible, and the most interesting when it comes to ice mining, right? So the fact that ice crits now exist actually greatly changes how much ice can be mined at any given time compared to ore, because of the fact that ice is done in like the solid blocks, and so suddenly you can get a crit that gives you 8 times as much as you would normally expect worth of resources, instead of just like 2 or 3 with rocks. And when it comes to these blocks, like getting 9 blocks in a single cycle can be huge. Did I say Cataclysm? Catalyst. Catalyst. Is it a Freudian thing? I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm tired. No, I was just reading. Yes, obviously, there's the whole thing about WoW Cataclysm, but I was reading something about a Cataclysm the last couple of days too, so that might be the reason why it was floating in my head too. But it wasn't WoW's. It was something else. I don't know. Either way, yeah, Catalyst expansion. Ice volume mined per region. Forge as always. I think it was Arknight, probably. Forge, Metropolis, Evershore. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. No. It was Arknight Enfield. Infected me with the word Cataclysm the last couple of days. Forge, Metropolis, Evershore. Forge, Metropolis, Evershore. Where ice gets mined doesn't get changed very much, because where ice gets mined doesn't get changed very much. It is interesting that we don't see... I would have expected it to maybe shake it up based on just the positions of the storms. But I imagine, if there's a storm in Forge, then it's going to be just like everything else. Like if there's content to be done in Forge, there's going to be more people doing it there than anywhere else. Even though it's not a great place to do things. And we can see that like in December, they had almost 7 billion, and now they have just over 6 billion. So it did drop down. Again, ice is one of those things that basically gets constrained by how much is in space, because it's only in specific systems. There are specific belts, and there's usually somebody mining them. So, and yeah, there was a storm near Jita. Moon materials by source. Well, we can see that an increasing number of the R4s, the trend of people to change from R4 mining via Metanox has gone down, and R4 mining via just like raw mining has become a bigger percentage of it. But we can see that the absolute amount that is being mined has not changed very much at all since really what we see this jump up a little bit, probably involving the expansion, because it's around that November. No, wait, hold on. Yeah, that November, December time period. We see this increase in the total amount being mined, while the amount of metanoxes drop down. So people are getting back to mining their R4 moons manually, probably in high sec and wormhole space, more than other places like low sec or null sec, because of course they've got better moons to mine. But this drop in the amount of them being done by metanoxes really shows that, like, as they have rebalanced how metanoxes work and make them more costly, it becomes much more like the idea of just having a metanox sitting on an R4 moon is no longer like a good economic viable strategy. If you have a good moon, you might be able to pop it on there, but for R4 you either mine it yourself or you don't. R8s are still one of the R8s and R16s are actually really R32s are all kind of, most of it is mined by metanoxes, with of course R64s being the most valuable, being manually mined to make sure that you get every single resource you can get out of it. So R16s are these middle ones. Everybody likes to just throw an Athanor on it and extract from it. I do find it interesting that we do see this like spike in like almost every single one of them at the very end that is not metanox based. That could just be the way that the cycles work, but yeah. I also know that there has been some interesting stuff when it comes to Snuff and some other accounts or some other organizations that have a tendency to have a lot of metanoxes. But we don't see anything that I could really read into that from there either. Some dude in my alliance has 32 tunes all in hopes to mine out ice belts in an hour. Oz.space is really good. The Oz is really good when it comes to anything about market with the game, for sure. He plexes them with ice mining profits. Oh yeah, I mean, like, if you can chew through a bunch of ice, that's a good way to make a lot of money. And that's the thing, is that, like, back in the day, back before multi-boxing became as popular as it was, the one group of people that did multi-boxing was mining, right? Because, like, any given miner is only doing something every few minutes. The APM is literally less than 1. So, like, often miners, like, will focus on being a multi-boxer so that way they can have the whole fleet. It gives them, you know, trying to maintain 12 hulks is its own kind of challenge, right? Yeah. Either way, moon material value by region, Detroit, Innsmother, Vale. Vale, Fountain, Innsmother, Catch, Syndicate, Quarius, Wicked, where's Devoid? Wait, where's Devoid? What happened in Devoid this month? Anyone? Domain. I feel like I'm doing a word search. Hold on. Am I stupid? Oh, no, Declan. Okay, hold on. Detroit. Detroit is the name, not Devoid, obviously. But that doesn't help my situation at all. Detroit is right there. It's smack down in the middle. Detroit went from 0.2 trillion, with a third of it being mined by metanoxes, to over $1 trillion, with almost all of it being mined by people. Not Detroit. What hold on. How do I spell Detroit? D-E-T. Deterid. It's not Detroit, it's Deterid. Whatever. Okay, fine. It was one of the regions that was converted. It's Angel Cartel space. It's near, okay, it's near Amencia, Innsmother, Tenerife's, Wicked Creek. This area. Which, there's Innsmother. Okay. Well, that's fascinating. That might be the biggest... Everyone who knows about and plays Eves and talks... I thought it was Detroit forever. It's Deteroid, right? Yeah, sorry. It was taken by Goon several months ago. That's a crazy jump, though. To go from 0.2 trillion to probably closer to 1.1 trillion. So that's a big jump. That right there is like that most of that spike, I would say. Wow. It kind of makes me want to go back like a few months. Hold on. I only have a couple of months back. Darn it. I want to go like 6 months back and see where Detroit was at. Deteroid, whatever. Oh no, it was here before. It was at 600 billion. So it went from 600 billion. Wait. I have this tool. Hold on. Add, what are we looking at? Moon material value. Moon mining value. And we're going to clear the filters. Well, that doesn't feel right. What? Oh, well. Maybe they changed what the stat is named now? Moon volume mined. Woo. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Is this right? Long moon poles plus locate sig? Yeah, that could be it. So, yeah, it could just be that they were, like, holding the moons for longer than a month. And so there wasn't any mining that month, and then the next month there was a huge amount. Either way, that's still a big amount. All right. Commodity. Market commodity. Hold on, let's... Where is this chart here? This one is like backwards, isn't it? It is literally just backwards. I didn't notice that last month. All right, bounty prizes went from 57 to 56. So bounties are down slightly. Commodity market goes from 52 to 55. So commodities are... Wait, hold on. Never mind. Because they actually flipped. So commodities went from 52 to 56. Okay. Bounties went from 57 to 55. So that's down. And then ESS main bank payment goes from 29.5 to 29.2. So, I mean, like, slight downs, but not that much, to be honest. Corporate rewards, Triglavian invasions Goes from 14.7 to 15.4, so people are clearly doing that still. Oh, I wonder, it might be worth checking like fobs over time, because I can't remember how much people, like I should go back like 6 months and see how much was done then, because I can't imagine too many people are doing fobs still, but yet we see 6.24 trillion ISK worth of fobs last month, which feels crazy to me now that fobs are only in low-sec, but somebody's running them. Agent mission rewards 4.2 to 4.3. So actually agent missions are up. So people are ratting a little bit less, but they're doing mission running a little bit more. Oh my god, what happened to Wonderlands? Oh. Oh. This is a cool website or a page. Yeah, Oz does such good stuff. Oz is really great. We'll look into that at some point, but let's see. House of Records remains the top with Ministry of Internal Order, Federal Intelligence Agency, and Republic Security Services. Project Discovery is at 826 billion. Down from 919 billion. So that's actually a pretty big drop, all things considered, for Project Discovery. Uh, 2 months ago, it was at 958. So yeah, Project Discovery is kind of dipping down. Check the Power BI. What? They could delete Project Discovery from Eve and I wouldn't notice? That doesn't make it a good thing to do. Like, in fact, we even talked about it in my advice last one, which was a follow-up from my previous advice. Here we go. That, like, doing Project Discovery is a really good way to make some extra ISK. And, you know, citizen science stuff is cool. Am I... What's happening? Oh, here I can compare 12 MERs at once. Oh my god. Okay, well this is a whole separate thing. I don't know how to look into this. You've broken my brain. I'm just a simple dude just looking for patterns. Maybe if I started in Project Discovery in 2007, I would be close to that Marshall PPC. You couldn't have started it in 2007. Oh boy. I can do moon material. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is very interesting and powerful stuff. I'm not sure if I want to, like, go through the whole step of, like, learning how it all works right now, but I'm sure this is a good reason to watch the Oz's stuff. Guys are illegally running scripts, mouse tracker scripts, and automating it? What? For what? Wait, what? No. Oh, for, like, Project Discovery? People are absolutely doing Project Discovery valid. Like, I'm sure that there are some people that are trying to script it, but also, like, you got to realize that on a certain extent, that would be amazing, right? The whole reason why Project Discovery exists is because humans are better at pattern seeking than computers are on certain things, and therefore, like, if you could create a tool that could automate Project Discovery accurately, then you've already solved the puzzle, right? You've fixed it. We don't need Project Discovery anymore. Your bot now does the Project Discovery thing. Now, the caveat to that is, well, in fact, actually, to drive that point home first, the entire point of this stuff, especially with the previous ones, the original one especially, was to build training data to build models that could actually process these kinds of samples. But you only get there with a whole bunch of data that's already been processed and vetted, right? And so that's the whole point. That's what Project Discovery originally was to get humans to vet a data set, so that way they could then train models off of it. So if somebody trains an AI or a bot to run Project Discovery, one could argue that they've already, like, they've done the whole thing. Give that man a Nobel Prize. The problem with that argument is that they're not actually trying to necessarily solve the problem that's being presented to them. They're trying to solve the problem of the actual Project Discovery itself. So it's not about being accurate. It's about being accurate enough to not, like, lose your accuracy score and get, like, in trouble, right? Which, unfortunately for that means that, you know, they need to know whether or not you're accurate, which means that they have a certain number of samples in there that are already known what the results are. So as you do it, occasionally they'll be like, you're right or you're wrong. And that was one where they already knew what the results were, and they check you every once in a while, and that's how your accuracy is built. So if you built a bot that had that library and knew what all the correct answers are, then it would be able to, like, see whether or not it's being given one of those, give the correct answer, and if it's not, just kind of guess it good enough and submit it, because who knows, if it's not a checker, then it doesn't really matter, and you still win, right? So you could theoretically create a bot that breaks Project Discovery without necessarily solving Project Discovery. But the problem, the caveat to all of that is that CCP is aware of this fact. And the nice thing about this is, ultimately, like, whether or not you get ISK for it, hey, guess what? This ain't about you, okay? This is about cancer. This is about COVID. This is about exoplanets. This is about protein samples, okay? Like, ultimately, to the rest of the world, the fact that you made a Marshall on Project Discovery is but a fun little footnote on some scientific discovery, right? Like, you are the least important piece of this whole process. The fact that somebody can bot it and, like, get a little bit of an advantage on the game, ultimately speaking, isn't the important thing. The important thing is the data itself. And the nice thing is that these bots, as they do, or, you know, as much as they do exist, are very detectable. And so they've actually, because it's not just bots, it's also people just giving shitty answers, just good enough answers. And so part of the whole point is that when you're dealing with data sets this large, you also need to be able to pull out your own noise, right? And that's the nice thing. If 1,000 people complete it and 90% of them take it seriously, then their results are going to mostly match. You know, some of them are going to get it better than others, but they're going to mostly be within a level of tolerance. And then anything outside of that is going to be seen as the noise, right? People that don't give a crap, people blah, blah, blah. So, like, if somebody does develop a bot that is good enough to do that, first of all, ban them. Hopefully if you risk your EVE Online account so you can bot Project Discovery, God, just find a different game, man. Go play Frontiers. There are better games for your talent set. That's all I'm saying. That's wild. But if you're just mining, or you're doing a gate camp or something like that, it is a good way of just getting some ISK and such. The examples are a bit confusing, and what are those pictures supposed to be? Well, they talk about it a little bit. I will say that this version of Project Discovery is probably the most difficult to wrap your brain around what it is that we're even doing compared to previous ones. But yeah. Project Discovery, Plex for Good, and Friendship Machine is what set this game apart from most other MMOs. Those are not the only things, but those are certainly things. Okay. Let's see about insurance. 5.2 to 5. Interesting. Okay. That's enough of this one. Let's see. Top 6 commodities and faucets over time. We can see that in January, sleeper components went up. Overseas spiked a little bit. Nothing too unusual. Nothing too unusual here. The winter event stuff, I would have, doesn't appear to be here, right? The Nexus shards, because even if they're in miscellaneous, we would have seen a big spike, because this is the October spike, which is Crimson Harvest. I don't see a reaction on this chart from like in this one, this big orange spike of Overseer personal effects. That was the previous winter event. Yeah, we don't see any movement here. So the Winter Nexus shards must not be being tracked on here as a commodity. At that stage, spending that much effort is better used in making a stock market swing trading bot. I mean, you're not wrong about that. Seventh Heaven, no. All you people with your periods. Oh, he posted it. Project Discovery is beneficial and matters. It matters in real life. It matters a ton to new players. Data sets are trained, tainted. Hold on. Through from stuff biased towards mouse. Keyloggers used to abuse the system. I mean, yes, Project Discovery does matter. My point is that CCP has assured us, especially back from the previous, like the original Project Discovery, is that the nice thing is that the act of attempting to, it doesn't have to be a link. It's basically if anybody tries to do periods and then they don't put a space, it just sees word, period, word, and it thinks that that's a link. And so just like rages out. That's just the thing. But the point is that Project Discovery is important. But the good news is that kind of our interference with it doesn't actually damage the data sets, as have been shown for the first few. ISKs and faucets over time. We see bounty prizes are way up, starting what, November? But they've dipped back down, but they are already at a high. There was a lot of extra activity after Catalyst. God damn it, Catalyst. I'm catching myself at least now. This spike. Well, that's weird, because like this spike shows a jump up that in late January that I would have expected. Like this commodity spike, I would expect to maybe be the winter event. Although if that's true, wow, the difference between the winter event last year and this year. This winter event, people talked about how unrewarding this this winter event was, and wow, if that's what this spike represents, you can definitely see very lackluster. The Crimson Harvest event was very popular, more popular than normal. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on with that. But the winter event, you see significantly less excitement in the commodity market from the winter event. Though devs said that they'll improve new player retention, bets on average concurrent characters in coming December. Like next year? Like year over year? That's an interesting question, and we can look at that. I look at that all the time with the EVE Offline website. It's hard to always measure those things. Like they always are saying that they're doing things to improve new player retention. So to say like, oh, this moment here, just by looking at the chart, and that's the only data that we have, is the PCU, I think that would be a fool's errand, or just like tea leaves. All right. Money supply continues to creep up. What's interesting there is, we see this. Yeah. We haven't seen it fall back down again. A lot of times this happens when people quit the game or come back to the game. So it has stayed pretty steady. I don't know if that means, I don't know how long it takes for them to fall off. Like if somebody got their Omega for free in November, it's probably still they're probably still being considered as an active character. Velocity of ISK remains basically stable to what before, a little bit of a trend down slightly, with a lot of its volatility being in contracts and Plex related items, with most of the stuff happening in Plex related items, which makes a lot of sense. And in fact, most of the fall off, we can see like this slant, like this slant is contracts and it's a little bit steeper, but this slant is a big portion of the slant, and that's going to be the Plex related items. So as they've been messing more with Plex and Plex related items, skins, etc., we can see the overall velocity has actually gone down. That's for active ISK count. PCU is updated daily. Yes, but so when they changed to alpha accounts, when they added alpha accounts into the game, they had to change what was the way that they considered an active character. And I don't remember off the top of my head how long you have to be not logging in before that character is now considered inactive and gets taken out of this calculation. I thought it was 3 months. So it could very well be that people that activated by logging in during the Catalyst expansion free time, yeah, 3 months, have not been removed from the system again yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a drop off of this in the next month. Wow. Oh, wow. So mineral price index is at the lowest point it's been since the end of the reign of the Rockwall. Secondary producer price index remains fairly strong. Primary producer is stable. Is this really what we wanted, guys? Is this is that 50% fall in MPI? Is this really what we wanted? Is have all of our minerals be worth less? 48% delta. That is so... I mean, I guess... Yeah, well, no, that's got to be the single biggest change in a long time. I mean, this is since 2018. This slope from this high point to this low point is definitely bigger than anything else. Prismaticite? This is not just Prismaticite alone does not explain this. But yeah, just mining in general is... Yeah, people are switching from mining to ratting for ISK generation. That's an interesting point, especially since we also see that bounties went down. But mission running went up. This is Equinox. Equinox is when it spiked up. Level 4. I don't know if that's true. It's so... Prismaticite was such a smaller piece of the whole mining update. I mean, like, there's just more people mining. Like, the thing is that it's not Prismaticite. It's this giant spike and this now well over, like, let's say 10 to 20% increase in overall mining happening throughout the world. That's the bigger piece of it. That said, this production is still so high. It's crazy that this commodity spike happens, but we don't see it all here. Maybe a little bit in the road drone and like a small uptick in the sleeper. This can't be... There's got to be something weird going on there. Consumer price index is a little bit down, kind of across the board. Accessories are a little bit up. Mineral price index they are bleeding, man. We have low-end minerals are at the top, high-end minerals are at the bottom. So now, granted, low-end minerals have been having a bit of a heyday, so you could argue that this is absolutely a correction. But yeah, each one of these ticks is a month, by the way. So this is just blood. You know, this is just lack of loss of value. We do see a bit of a spike with the high end as people were getting their production going, but overall, just the amount of minerals that are flowing into the system right now, very, very high. Primary producer index. Raw moon material has gone up, which is an interesting one. Obviously, like as normal minerals become more common, people are going to be focusing. You know, they're able to build more in general. Moon material comes in with T2, so as long as they're building T2, then you're going to see this influx in raw moon material, potentially, or that could even be the R4 stuff. But otherwise, I don't really see much jump in there. Asteroids fell off, but then kind of has stabilized. Secondary producer price index. Salvaged materials. Oh, gay guys. So salvage took a bit of a beating over the last year because of the drifter crisis and some other things going on. Salvage was kind of wiped out in its value, but it looks like it of all of the things has had the nicest recovery recently. Mercoxic is still good to mine. That's probably true. And there's the accessories going up again. Ship and module prices since 2018. Ship prices continue to drop. That feels like it makes sense. I want to say, like, just anecdotally, it's felt like so many ships are at least somewhat profitable to build that we could see, like, you know, it used to be that like building T1 ships were just not profitable to build, period. But like the values of things have been so high that some of that's been made some sort of sense. A lot more people have been building, so we have an 18% drop in value for ships and a 7% drop in value for modules. Though I see that many players are happy with high-sec anoms or anoms as they give null minerals. High-sec anoms give low-sec minerals. Patiently waiting for the day, but the Azrael drops below 10 billion and the market just implodes. Largest battle by solar system. Cool. Pretty. That's it. That is this month's MER. Kind of some fun things to note. A lot of stuff has been going on with nullsec, but like lots of moving and shaking. I don't know. Nothing. There's a couple things that jumped out at me as surprising in here, but it feels like there's a lot of excitement that came with Catalyst. There's been a lot of excitement towards the end of the year, and now we're kind of things are in the very mellow. We're in a very mellow phase right now. We're in the in between time. We're coming up upon the time where people start being like, when is CCP going to do something? Cost 25 billion in ISK just for the BPC. That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Is there anything else in here that I haven't covered? Do you guys have any thoughts about the economy? Am I an idiot when it comes to these kinds of things? Usually I am. You please fix the UI colors. Yeah. Let's see. Anything else? Anything else at all today? Drifter attack again, starting with C6 wormhole? No? Oh, by the way, somebody, like, we were talking about doing rogue drone lore. I do want to do rogue drone lore, and I do need to find that video where I did do it before, with the trig. But the thing about, like, the rogue drone lore in general is that rogue drones are the oldest of the big bad end guys in EVE, right? Like, they were the first ones introduced. When they needed like a pure villain, they introduced the road drones back in 2006, I think it was. So when tracing like all of the story of the road drones, it is a crazy rabbit hole of journey. That said, there is certain pieces of it that could be worth looking into. The biggest one I want to bring to people's attention, though, hold on. Because there's so much to rogue drones. Here it is. I don't know why I called it. Okay. For those of you who are interested in rogue drone lore, I will give you this document. This is an official document that was put out by CCP, which is an official document that was put out by Concord. Basically, when the rogue drones were revealed, Concord did their own investigation into rogue drones, or into what happened. And so this is the best version of the story of what actually led to the emergence of the rogue drones. So this is their research of what happened with the Gallente and how they tried to cover up what was going on and such. So we might do a code inquiry, ARIA inquiry, where we go through this entire document soon, but that's not going to be today. But I did want to bring this to your guys' attention, who have been interested in rogue drones. This is the cornerstone lore document when it comes to the origins of rogue drone systems and rogue drone space. So, all right. What I wouldn't pay for the Caroline Star's rogue drone AI database? What? Caroline Star didn't have rogue drone. Caroline Star had nothing to do with rogue drones. If you're talking about the Apocrypha event, those had rogue drones because they had been apparently hijacked by the Terran systems. Tangentially related, apparently 1 in 10 Icelanders publishes at least one book in their lifetimes. That's interesting. They weren't redaction heavy in those days. That's pretty funny. I don't know. There's definitely some good redactions in this page. But yeah, it's a 28-page document, and it's where kind of the foundation of rogue drone lore comes from. Then there's also the Triglavians' understanding of it, and et cetera, which we can cover, and I have covered. And what I need to do is go back and find, like, I have a playlist. Hold on. We're wrapping up, by the way, in case you guys were curious. Should be okay. So I have training videos, which has a bunch of like tutorials and like the stuff like the weapon systems and fitting guide and stuff like that. The EVE Online Iceberg streams is the biggest deep dive into the lore I've done, but there is this EVE lore playlist that I've made. I should take the Lore Gallente Federation one and put the president videos in there. That needs to happen. But I do have this playlist here that I also want to share with you guys. Can I get a shareable link? Yeah. So that playlist there, this playlist, I haven't updated it in a while, but it is still a good one, where basically what I did was I took every video that CCP or Arytaka Research Consortium had ever put out that relates to the precursor crisis. So drifters, trig, etc. So this goes all the way back from the original story all the way up to the scope video in 2015. So I could, oh wait, no. It goes all the way up to 2019. So the trig stuff, all the way to the blackout being lifted, it looks like. Nope. 1 year anniversary of Pochvin. So from the very beginning to the end, to 1 year anniversary of Pochvin, this one playlist will show you every single video in order of what's happened. So that's a fun playlist. It's been here for a while. You can always check that out if you want. Otherwise, like I said, I've got lots of playlists with videos and stuff, and tons of videos, the live videos and stuff where we discuss things and show off stuff, etc., content for you guys to check out. I'm pointing this out because we do have a lot of new players, or new people to the channel, thanks to my tips and guides video. So, yeah. Speaking of which, if we want to keep this channel growing and being good and helping people out with maximizing player engagement with EVE Online and teaching people to make a more literate player base and a better EVE Online, do your part, please, and like this this stream and share it with a friend. Share the channel with a friend. It does a huge piece to all of this. Come back after it's done being recorded, or if you're watching this after the fact, great. Leave a comment. Let me know. Let's see, what do we want to do for our thing to talk about today? I guess, like, what else do we want to see in the EVE Evolved updates, right? I showed you what I want to see. Is there anything I'm missing when it comes to EVE Evolved updates that you should be focusing on in the next few weeks? We'll have to see. But until then, I have been Ashtarothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put EVE into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys so much for coming, checking out the stream, liking, commenting, subscribing, participating, hanging out, whatever you do. I do deeply appreciate it. We're better PI. That's actually a really, that's low-key one of the ones that I think might actually be happening. We'll see. But I do want to give a special shout out to my top tier supporters, my Immortal supporters: 745 MPSI, Arydanika the Queen, Bad Boy Smooth, Evo Elite, Erladis, Elange, Flash Gordon, Grims, May, Malak, Starfire, Malin, Mercuton, Mayak, Michael, Nephilim, LM1, Sheesh, Cicero, Thrans, and Rid. Thank you guys so much for coming, and thank all of you who take the extra steps to like the channel, share it with friends, and a special thanks to all of you who help me make all of this possible and allow me to live my life and feed my dog by becoming a member or a supporter on Patreon rather. You guys are the best. They get emotes, including the Pod 7 emote and the other emotes that you see in the chat, as well as access to the supporter channel in Discord, where I share other videos of my puppy and we talk about upcoming content. And also I let members vote on what content I'm going to cover on any given week. So like this week was about exploration and lore. My goal is tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to take on a new challenge. I don't want to give too much details about it, because I don't want it to get too disrupted. But I have an exploration challenge that I think it can stand alongside the Yeet exploration idea for a new player. But I'm going to do it with an alpha clone, alpha stuff. Basically, the idea is it's kind of a crazy way of doing exploration that anybody can do. If I can do it, you can do it. And we'll see if it works out. But you'll have to stay tuned in order to watch that when we do that later this week. But until then, like I said, thank you guys so much for coming. I've been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. And until next time, I'll see you in space. Thank you so much, Grims.
For every city